Welcome to the educational channel. This is Unit 4, Episode 16. In this episode, we will cover the Earth at risk. But before we start discussing the unit, let's have a few tips for the Setback questions. Make sure to read all the questions carefully. Remember that the questions are of general nature, so you can use your own background information as well as the textbook. Write full, meaningful sentences and provide at least 2 answers. Pay attention to handwriting and spelling, and always revise your answers. Now, what do we mean by the Earth at risk? Start thinking about it for a second. Take a look at these pictures and try to guess what we will be studying. When I say the Earth at risk, you might be thinking of pollution. You might be thinking that the world is in danger, and you are right. Take a look at these pictures. The question here is, how easy do you think life would be for people and animals living in areas like these? These are areas that look like deserts and they are very dry. How easy do you think life would be there? It would be hard, of course, for people and animals to live in such areas because the lack of plants and water would be a major hurdle. Hurdle means an obstacle or difficulty. Example, shortage of water is a major hurdle facing the Earth. Now, what are the serious prevailing environmental problems that we are facing these days? The serious prevailing environmental problems. Prevailing is an adjective to describe something widespread, very spread. Example, the prevailing opinion was to study online in order to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Now, there are 2 causes. We have natural causes, such as the ones you see in the photos here. Anything from nature, volcanoes, earthquakes, flooding. And there are man-made causes, such as the ones you see in the picture here. Anything related to what humans cause of effects to the environment. And if I want to write them down, what are the serious prevailing environmental problems that we are facing these days? I would say some causes of environmental problems are due to natural causes, and I would put examples such as harsh climate, flooding, and wildfires. Others are man-made, like cutting down trees, pollution, and landfills. These are all human-related causes. Now, harsh, when I say harsh climate, harsh means unpleasantly rough. It means unpleasantly rough. For example, people move away to escape harsh living conditions. Very rough. And climate means the weather conditions in an area over a period of time. For example, experts state that the climate is changing in some parts of the world due to pollution. And what do I mean by flooding? As you see in the picture, it's an overflowing of a large amount of water beyond what is normal, especially over what was normally a dry land. For example, the flooding caused a lot of damage to the city. And wildfire is a large destructive forest or bushfire that spreads very quickly. Example, wildfires in Australia killed and injured many animals. Now, here's another question for you. Why do you think the climate is changing? Think about it a little. The climate is changing due to global warming that is prevailing over. Prevailing over means to prove more powerful than opposing forces. For example, modern technology helps prevail over the challenges facing us. Now, this is an exercise for you. You will find this in the student's book, page 34. Match each word with its correct meaning. You can try this before we proceed with the answers, and then we'll do it together. Let's start. First, we have the word climate, and we just covered this one. Climate means conditions in an area over a period of time. Overcultivate. Overcultivate means to use land for growing crops so much it can no longer be used. Erode. Erode means to destroy slowly. Graze. Graze means to put animals in a field so that they eat grass, feeding the animals. Soil. Soil is what plants need to grow in. And the last one, wildfire, which we covered. Fire that spreads very quickly, like the ones in Australia last year. Now, what are the main causes of desertification? Look at the picture. Desertification. Desertification means the process by which fertile land becomes desert. It becomes dry because of drought or deforestation or inappropriate agriculture, not taking care of the land. Example, cutting down trees leads to desertification in many areas. Now, what do you think causes desertification? The main causes of desertification are harsh climate, scarcity, paucity of rain, and bad human activities. Paucity means the presence of something but in very small, insufficient quantities. Small amounts of something. Example, paucity of water is a major hurdle facing the earth. Scarcity is insufficiency or shortage. For example, the scarcity of water in the small town is destroying the farms. Also means very little. Look at this question here. Another thing of the earth at risk. There are many threats which we are facing nowadays on earth. What are they? We covered desertification. We have deforestation and global warming. We didn't cover though, what is deforestation? Deforestation is cutting down trees. Now, once there are no longer trees and plants, desertification occurs. Why do you think that happens when we cut down trees? When deforestation happens and there are no longer trees and plants, desertification happens. Can you explain this phenomenon? Because there will be nothing to stop the wind and rain from blowing or washing away the top layer of soil. So the land becomes very dry. Wash away means if water washes something away, it carries it away, usually with a great force. Example, the wind washes away the soil. Now, human activities are the real cause of desertification. Can you explain that? What do humans do that cause desertification? Farmers tend to over-cultivate because of the growing population. They tend to plant, but a lot. Over-cultivate means to cultivate too much. For example, some farmers tend to over-cultivate the land more than they should. Another thing that people do, or human activities that cause desertification, is that farmers overgraze and kill off plants. Overgraze and kill off plants. Now, there are dangerous results to desertification. What are the results? First, it affects the Earth's most precious resource, water, and productive land becomes a desert and an unproductive land. When I say a productive land, productive means able to produce large amounts of goods, crops, or anything. Example, my cousin spends his time doing productive activities. He's producing things. The opposite, the antonym, is unproductive. Unproductive is not producing or not being able to produce amounts of goods. Example, farmlands are becoming unproductive because of water shortage. Another dangerous result of desertification is that it causes strong winds and treacherous wildfires. Treacherous means hazardous because of presenting hidden or unpredictable dangers. For example, treacherous wildfires killed off hundreds of plants and animals. Now we know the causes and the results of desertification. Take a look at this question. How can we solve the problem? How do you think we can solve problems such as desertification? What can we do? First, planting more trees. Planting means to place a seed in the ground so that it can grow. Example, planting more trees can increase oxygen levels on Earth. We need trees for oxygen, don't we? Another way to solve the problem is using modern technology to reclaim deserts. Reclaim means to bring back something, to bring the wasteland or the land formerly underwater under cultivation. For example, deserts are being reclaimed to create more green areas. Can you think of one more thing that we can do? Preservation of green areas to prevent cutting down trees. Preservation means the action of maintaining something in its original or existing state, to maintain something. For example, the government is working for the preservation of water, keeping it safe. Let's talk a little about overgrazing. What are the effects of overgrazing on the environment? If you remember the exercise, graze means to put animals on a field so that they eat the grass. For example, they use this land to graze their animals. Look at the picture, animals are grazing. Now, what are the effects of overgrazing on the environment? Overgrazing kills off grass and plants. It also affects the soil badly, permanently. To kill off the plants means to destroy something utterly. For example, some chemicals kill off living creatures. And the soil, we kept repeating the word soil. I hope you know what it meant. Soil is the top layer of the earth in which the plants grow. It's the brown thing in the picture you see. You need fertile soil to cultivate all sorts of vegetables. And permanently means lastingly. Example, they decided to settle down in Europe permanently. Here's another question for you, and this one might be a bit tricky. Let's see if you're smart enough to do this. What is the difference between the weather and the climate? Now, think about it a little. Weather and climate, there's a difference. What is the difference between them? Now, I'm sure you know this. Let's put them in words. The weather is what happens to the air atmosphere outside on a day-to-day basis. So the weather is something that happens daily, every day. I can say this is the weather. The climate, though, is the prevailing weather in the particular place over a long period of time. The prevailing weather, the general weather over a long period of time. Now, let's focus now a bit on the consumption of water. How can we curtail the unwarranted consumption of water? Curtail means to reduce in extent, to make it less of use. We should curtail our unnecessary spending to reduce in extent or quantity. And unwarranted means not justified, not authorized. Example, we need to curtail the unwarranted use of water, the unjustified use of water. Now, it's better to use modern systems of irrigation and run awareness campaigns to curtail the unwarranted use or consumption of water. Also, we can prevent washing cars with hoses or force strict laws against misbehaving. Misbehaving is failing to conduct oneself. For example, people who misbehave should be punished. What has Kuwait done to overcome the problem of water paucity? Kuwait has built distillation plants and has implemented studies to improve efficiency of water usage. Implement is to take something and put it into effect. Example, it's difficult to implement a project without planning first. Now, suggest ways you can reduce water usage. I know we all use water a lot, but how can we reduce the usage of water? First, shortening your shower time by a minute. A minute makes a difference. Don't let the water run while washing, especially brushing your teeth. And fixing broken pipes and checking them regularly. Why should man preserve natural resources? First, to maintain human race and the atmosphere and the environmental balance. The atmosphere is the mixture of gases that surrounds the Earth. The Earth's atmosphere is a combination of different gases and increasingly protecting animals' natural habitat. Increasingly means increasing over time, going up over time. Let's take some more words. Erode means to destroy slowly. Crashing waves have eroded the cliffs along the beach. Precipitate means to cause to happen suddenly of an event or situation unexpectedly. For example, industrial progress precipitates land destruction. Proportion means a part, share, or number. Example, water covers a large proportion of earth. Arid means having little or no rain, dry. The land was arid due to the lack of rain. And equator means the imaginary line drawn around the earth equally. Example, countries close to the equator suffer from high temperature. Forecasting means a prediction or estimate of future events. Many people prefer to check weather forecasting before going camping. And frigid, look at the picture. Frigid means very cold in temperature. It was frigid outside, so they had to wear warm clothes. And when I say the weather is humid, means marked by a relatively high level of water vapor. Example, rainforests are usually very humid. Intrinsic means essential. The Diwaniyah is an intrinsic part in Kuwaiti culture. A spearhead is a leader. For example, he is the spearhead of the campaign against smoking. This was episode 16. Thank you for watching.